So tell me who we're talking about.
We are talking about my dad. His name's Brian. Brian Richard Stevenson. He was born in 1961. No, 1960. He passed away in 2017. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to talk about.
What was he like?
So, a little bit of an oddball, but like, yeah, fine. He's had like long hair and a beard, and he liked motorbikes and lots of different types of music. And I think a lot of like people found him quite like interesting or maybe a little intimidating to look at. But yeah, he was good. He was a nice person.
What do you think people found intimidating?
I think just because he was quite tall and looked always quite kind of scruffy and missing teeth and all that kind of thing, and just generally a bit wild. And yeah, I think so. I'll give an example. So like when my mum was working in a hair shop, my dad had been there in the day and he'd just taken the dogs home. So we had all like 3 of the dogs on lead and left, and somebody called my mum's shop and said, "I've just seen a homeless man stealing some dogs from your shop." That kind of, yeah, that sort of vibe.
Yeah, so obviously, kind of, I've met him, but looking at the photos and stuff as well, he doesn't come across as someone who's in any way like intimidating.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, I think generally he's he could be a little maybe a little I suppose did want to get on the wrong side of him as well sometimes. There's a few occasions where he's had people like shouting, like saying stuff to him in the street, and he's giving as good as he gets back. He's generally very placid gentleman.
Yeah. Where do you think that wildness came from?
I think he was, well, from what I understand, he was really naughty in school. And just generally, like, I don't think his teachers were very fussed on him at all. And I think my mum and dad went to school together as well and hated each other. Because my mum was very well behaved in school and very studious, and my dad was absolutely not. And I think he ended up getting expelled when he was like 13 or 14. And yeah, left school with no qualifications or anything like that, and was just generally, I think, a bit of a clown. Very, very popular, and lots and lots of friends, and grew up in quite a large family, so just a bit wild, I think, really. But yeah, just really like fun to be around and really like a laugh as well, because I think he was quite extroverted in a lot of ways. So yeah, just really like and then he got into like when he was maybe like 15, 16, so his older brother had motorbikes, but it was just for the purpose of like getting to and from work, and it was the cheapest option for them to do at the time. But my dad really, really got into it. So like, I think it was his oldest brother Barry who first got one, and then they like Martin and his other brother, and then him also got one as well. When they were like 15, 16, just little small bikes, and then my dad was the one that really got into like everything to do with that sort of culture and like going to all the biker meets and all that kind of thing. And then my mum, when they got together when they were 16, also was very much into motorbikes. She worked on farms, so she'd gotten into it from like driving tractors and things like that, and then just having like really enjoying different types of vehicles. And so they started going on to like bike rallies and things like that, and had a little a group of friends, like a little club, motorbike club group of friends that they hung around with. And then like a bit later on when they moved to Liverpool, I think when they were like maybe 20, 21, they got really into like, my mum moved for art college and my dad just followed. And they got really into like the hippie kind of scene as well. They they squatted in Pete Burns' flat when they first moved to Liverpool.
But with Pete Burns?
He was on tour.
Ah, well.
So him and his wife or partners flat back then. They lived there for a little while, I think, with I forget the name, but Pete Burns is their partner at the time. I think they stayed with her, and when they were away working or whatever, they stayed in the flat for a little while until they got their own place. And yeah, they worked in somewhere called the Armadillo Tea Rooms, which is Matthew Street way, by Pro Records, where all the punks hung out. My mum was more of a punk, my dad bikerish kind of hippie dress, and yeah, they both worked in the Armadillo Tea Rooms. My mum was used to work in the kitchen. I think my dad used to just like waiter and help out cleaning and things like that.
So your mum was more studious at school. Do you think your dad, did he pull her into the lifestyle of being?
Well, I don't think so, because I think my mum was always like that anyway. But they moved to Liverpool for my mum to go to art college, and met a bunch of friends that they studied with and stuff. They're still my mum was still good mates with people she knew in school and things like that as well. But I think my mum was pretty much done with studying, she was going to do a degree and all that kind of thing, and then I think I came along a bit unexpected. So I think that kind of stopped everything, and they just, because when I was first born, neither of them were working, and I think that was the same for a few years. But I think they had the little flat that they lived on the top floor on Canning Street in Toxteth, like a little attic flat, and they got 2 cats, and then I think so they got married when Mum was probably pregnant with me, but I think they'd already planned on getting married for some time before that, because a lot of their friends had done it, and they got married in the June of 1986, and then I came along in the January of 1987. My mum was 25, my dad had just turned 26. Yeah.
What was it like as a parent?
As a person? Parent. Yeah, it was fun. We used to have a lot of laughs. So when I was really, really little, my mum and dad were both at home with me. But then my mum returned to go to work when I was about maybe 3 or 4. So I stayed at home with my dad because I was home educated. So I did go to school for a short while, when I was about 5. But the majority of the time I was at home with him, all the way up until I was 14. So it was good. We had a laugh. He was a bit chaotic, in the nicest way sometimes, but he. So one of the main reasons I think why they decided to take me out of school was because they weren't managing very well getting me there and back every day, and part of the reason was because my dad used to sleep a lot in the day, and he didn't always get up to kind of come and pick me up. So there was a few occasions when no one turned up for me, which I think had caused a few problems with the school and general stuff like that. And he spent a lot of time sleeping in the day and used to take me out. He collected scrap metal for money. So you can't anymore, but years ago you used to be able to go they collect all scrap metal and then go have it weighed in a metal yard, and they would pay you for the weight. I don't think you can do that as an individual anymore, but then we could. So we used to go around with big reusable shopping bag kind of thing around all the local area, just looking for scrap metal and bits to sell, which is interesting. And my dad also used to do a lot of when buildings were getting pulled down or getting refurbished or whatever, I guess breaking in and pulling as much stuff as he could sell out of it. And there's a good few occasions of me having to stand watch while he went and robbed things out of stuff, but it's all fun.
Yeah. Well, you said a while ago that you got a couple of times you get stopped by the police for having
So
like wrenches and things.
yeah. So one time he used to leave me in the house quite a bit. One time he'd gone out to get some taps, Victorian taps he'd seen on a bath that was in an alleyway somewhere. And he evidently didn't want to take me because it was supposed to be like a 5-minute job, and taking a small child with him would have been like added onto the time. So he went to go collect these taps and got arrested. And didn't show back up again, and then I was in the house all day alone until my mum got in from work at like 6 o'clock. And it was like, where is he? And I didn't really want to say that he'd left me all day, so I was a bit like, hey, I don't know. He was got the chippy. And my mum obviously realised after a bit that had not happened. And then he showed back up in a police car about 10 o'clock at night. It's like, he arrested me and I don't know why. But yeah, he got arrested for going equipped, which was assumed that he was going to go break cars or break into houses, but maybe break into cars with houses. Yeah, fun, I guess.
Was it consistently that chaotic? Or
yeah. Yeah, mostly. We used to, my mum said that one of her favourite memories is coming in and like seeing my dad playing with me when I was really little. Because like he would, when he was up, which wasn't all the time, but when he was actually up and he was fun. He used to write me stories, so like he would sit sometimes when I'd say I wanted a bedtime story, but one of his. So like he used to make up stories, but he'd write the comic book strips for us to read the stories together, which was really nice. So we would draw stories about rabbits, for example, and like he'd draw out like the whole scenes of everything, and then like he'd tell me the story that went with the pictures that he'd make up like there and then. And he also used to like do a lot of teddy bears picnics. So I had this really like little tiny tea set, and my mum said she used to come in all the time. And I'd just be like a blanket or something over the kitchen table, so like everything was hidden, and I'd be under the table with my dad drinking water out of his plastic tea set with all the teddy bears and things like that, which is cute. Yeah, it was good. It was fun to be around, but yeah, very chaotic as well, I think, a lot of the time. He went to he did like he did do quite a bit of like art when I was younger, and he used to be like drumming and things like that, so he was very into like the music scene of things. We went to watch a lot of live bands. We went to Glastonbury when I was like about 16 months old. And he also didn't drink very often, so when he did drink, would get very, very drunk very quickly. And when we were in Glastonbury, he got a bit drunk while in charge of me, and gave me to some people and got off for a bit.
Just to mind?
Yeah, just to mind. Like, will you mind this?
People who knew? Or?
No. So like my mum came back and was like, "Where's the baby?" And he'd given me to this like I think he said they were in the wherever the world music part is in Glastonbury, where it's a lot of like music from other countries, and like he'd given me to a lady who was in a folk band from a particular part of the world. I don't know where they were from. They didn't speak any English, and they'd gotten off with me and like just taken me back to show everybody else, which evidently my dad wasn't concerned about because he assumed that they would bring me back at some point. So my mum had a little sort of half an hour meltdown of searching for a baby in Glastonbury, to find that I'd been left with these, I'm going to say like Peruvian or something like that. It was somewhere really quite far away, like to find me just like sitting on a blanket next to a fire with all this band playing music to me. And yeah, I don't think she left me with him after that, but yeah.
Did you give a thought about those decisions, or
no?
Or even afterwards?
Just an assumption that everything will be fine. I think it was relatively positive in thinking. I think.
Did he think about everything like that, or was that?
Yeah, I'd say so. It was like, I suppose, optimistic enough to think that everything will be all right most of the time. In general, like I think general decisions like that, yes. As a person, I think he was quite a sad person, but I think that's, just like poor mental health and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I think relatively optimistic as much as a depressed person can be.
Did it? Was it? Do you think it came from like him being optimistic, or kind of not thinking about it? Because they're two different. I'd say they're two different things,
Yeah, I suppose maybe he didn't think of the other possibilities or other outcomes of things all the time as well. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a risk taker anyway, given motorbike riding and all that kind of stuff is quite risky. And lots of things about his life were relatively. He wasn't risk averse. Maybe there was an element of not thinking through a lot of decisions or a lot of actions and stuff, but I think I think he was believed that most people were like good anyway. So, what's there to worry about really?
How did your relationship change when he when you moved out, or if it did?
So I found when I was a little bit older, like teenage years, I found them quite like easy to get on with, a lot more than my mum anyway. Just because I feel like my mum was left with a lot of the kind of disciplinary stuff, whereas my dad was a bit more easygoing about things. So I think we weren't particularly close at that point.
You and your dad?
Yeah. But just generally it was amicable. But I think as well, so he'd started working when I was around 13, I think. He'd got a full-time job, which is the first full-time job I think he'd had since he was a teenager. And he just I used to go when I was in school for a short time when I was 13 until I was 14. And I used to travel every day after school to go sit at my dad's work to wait for him to finish work before I could go home because they didn't really give me keys to the house and stuff. So I used to quite like that because it was time that I got to spend with him. And then when I got a little bit older, because I moved out when I was just 17 to the first flat I lived in, and I think when I moved out, he I think at that point had maybe either lost his job or he'd gotten a different job or something similar to that, which was less hours, and he'd gone into a really low point, I think. So he didn't really get up much out of bed at all. So I did used to go visit, but he was very, very rarely awake or rarely out of bed, even if he was asleep. So I didn't see him for quite a long time, really, regularly. He'd only be now and again when he'd be up or doing anything that I'd actually get to spend time with him. I'd look forward to things like family gatherings and stuff like that because then he would actually make the effort and come to stuff a lot of the time. But yeah, I didn't see much of him for a little while, and then I moved back in with them again for a bit when I was 20. 19 or 20, moved back in for quite a bit, and then I lived with them for a few years. And that was alright. At that point, my mum had started her own business just around that time, and they'd gotten a little car thing, which was a very, very small engine, so you could actually ride on a bike license. You could drive it on a bike license. So my dad was able to drive that around as well, even though he didn't have a car license. It was like a little van thing. So they used to go up and down from the shop that my mum had rented for her business, and he started working with her then. I think maybe he still had a cleaning job as well, I think. But he was working nights, doing cleaning and then going in the days to help out my mum. But I think eventually just moved out to just working in my mum's shop. But yeah, I didn't see him much. When I was living there, obviously I lived with him, so I seen him. But it was still a lot of not being out of bed an awful lot, and he'd just go to work and then just be in bed for the majority of the time, or on most weekends and things. And then so then I think we moved away again for a bit, and then I moved back in again, for a while, and then permanently away, into my own place. But yeah, it was only really, I think, when I got a bit older, and also when my dad was working, and had a bit more money coming in, we started spending like more time doing sort of kind of more adult activities together. Like we would go and see a lot of music, like a lot of live bands together and things. Sometimes we'd go just for drinks, like to a pub or go and see other people. But there was more times where it was less parent-child and more just kind of not mates, but you just go and have a nice time out with your dad and his as friends more than parent and child kind of thing. But we shared a lot of interests, so it was nice to do that.
It sounds like there was two very separate sides to him. Like the sort of you talk a lot about him being very outgoing and optimistic and really into lots of all the stuff he was into. But then obviously there's also the kind of depression and his mental health issues. It was like were they two very separate things? Or
Yeah.
was they...
So I mean, my dad had bipolar disorder, so it was very, very distinct as to what mood he was in, and obviously when he was in a more manic phase of his mood, then obviously it was a lot. He was very outgoing and sometimes doing an awful lot of stuff that was risky, or and then the other times was when he was obviously very, very low and didn't want to do anything at all. But it was very two different people. Unfortunately, as well, like when I was a lot younger, like he had like a large group of friends, and as he got a bit older and stuff, like a lot of them just sort of disappeared. And he wasn't the best for actually making the effort to keep in touch with people either. So I think it was partially on him because he didn't really bother. But it went from him having loads and loads of friends and having like quite a big wide range of things that he used to do to just having absolutely nothing. It was just work and being at home with family. That's it. Which I think he found quite isolating. But he also said frequently that it didn't bother him. He didn't need friends. So I don't know. It was. Yeah, I think it must have affected him at least a little bit, because definitely it was, some of the lower parts of his life were definitely influenced by the fact that he wasn't doing anything. He didn't have anything to do. And it's a shame. He's got a lot, like when he passed away, a lot of people reached out. An awful lot of people reached out. That's really quite gutted. I think that they hadn't sort of made those connections again. So they never had any big fallings out with friends. It was just more, they just sort of drifted away.
Yeah, it's not uncommon, is it, for people in anyone's life to drift and coming out and that kind of stuff. I think it's like it can be much more difficult to manage if you've got complex mental health issues.
Yeah.
I think it's a very common thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, how do you think his parenting's affected yours?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I've always wanted to try and have fun with children. Like, there's parts of me parts of the way he parented and parts of the way that I was parented by both my parents that have definitely, I think, like anyone would be like, I wouldn't do that, or certain things that you think that wasn't ideal. Let's maybe not do that to my own children. But there's definitely influences. I mean, he was very understanding and very he made an effort to try and be as nice to as many people as possible and be as good a person as possible, which I think is obviously what I would like to be able to do. And hopefully teach my kids to be understanding and compassionate and stuff. But yeah, I think there's probably more of things that I wouldn't do.
Like robbing the bathtub and
Yeah,
stuff.
maybe not robbing bathtubs, maybe not leaving your 2-year-old in the house by themselves. Like, all them kind of things a bit. But yeah, there's a lot of really nice things about my childhood, and there's certain things that I wouldn't wish to recreate. But yeah, I mean, there's I think I'm probably quite similar to him in a lot of ways. So there's definitely going to be like a lot of similar things, and I'm just having fun as well, because like the nicest things that I remember about my dad is just really being silly, and just really stupid all the time. So I think that's what I like to also do.
Yeah. Is that something that continues? Because you were talking before about your your mum coming home and you drinking tea with them under the table with the stuff. Is that some? I don't mean specifically drinking tea under the table or drinking water under the table, but like, is that kind of thing something that continued by the way through, like yours and his life?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was a little bit more serious when I grew up, like a little bit less silly, but yeah, generally, and like he would, he's got to experience being a granddad, obviously, and he was really not initially so. Like, I think initially he was just a bit perturbed by being having to deal with him as a child.
Oh my god, this again.
Yeah. But I think once she was able to do a bit more, and like it was a bit more exciting, and Dad used to play with her, and we'd be silly with her, and he would pick her up from school sometimes for me, which was really nice when she first started school, and just have fun until I got in from work and stuff. So there was definitely like similar things. I think just with maybe a slightly more mature outlook than when he was parenting me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I think she has very fond memories of him being a granddad to her when she was small. And she really misses him. So I think he's definitely done something right.
Yeah. Well, the things we talked about, because we've talked about this a lot, haven't we? Like, there's loads of little things that amongst all that, like you generally don't tend to bring up, but the difficult, like leaving you alone when you two or whatever. It's more like, the bike story that you mentioned, like things like that seems to be a really prominent part of his personality more than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, the bike thing was great. Like, obviously he, I'll tell the story because it's nice. But yeah, he used to make a lot of stuff. So like specifically for me, or just in general because it was cheaper, or just because he liked to do it. So we had all these motorcycle parts, and like the big project was to put this motorcycle that had been saving up parts of for years back together. Which is still not back together because it's now in pieces in my mum's shed. It never happened, but it was there. So he would work on stuff like that all the time, but I needed a bike, and I guess he thought, well, it'd be nicer to kind of make a bike rather than just buying a regular bike. So I have this this bike that's silver, and it's got tiny little wheels and but rather large frame. So it's like almost an adult size frame with tiny little wheels. So it was little, so I could ride it. And he like welded it and everything, put the whole thing together for me. And then because I wanted to match him, we saved up to it in the. You used to get like stickers or toys or whatever in the cereal, and they had, can't remember what cereal it was, but whatever, Kellogg's something, had dinosaur stickers. So they were like a dinosaur footprint, with like a glow in the dark edge around each of the feet. So we bought endless boxes of these cereals to collect enough of these dinosaur stickers to be able to decorate both our bikes that would match. And obviously they had to be, every single one had to match. So if you're getting a random sticker in a packet, there's a lot of boxes to go through before we got matching ones for each thing. And then like glued them on and varnished them and stuff so they would stay on properly. And my dad had sprayed his bike, which was originally like a blue colour, to like the same silver as mine, and then put the stickers on his as well so they matched. And we also were going to do the helmets and stuff as well, because we used to have matching helmets, but I think the mum put a foot down and was like, absolutely
Just that so your dad wasn't riding around.
Yeah, with a dad sort of sticker helmet as an adult. I think, yeah, it's good fun.
Do you think he always just thought about the task at hand rather than kind of the repercussions of it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot of like unfinished projects because he would start an awful lot of stuff and be like, "Oh yeah, this would be really cool," and then it would never actually turn into anything. But yeah, it's so good. And I think my mum was like, kind of just accepted it in the end, because he'd turn up with a lot of stuff that he'd found in the house a lot. But I think she must have just been like, I think I told you about this before, but the giant head. So he found it was like a theatre company. I think it might have been the back of the Everyman or something. It made like a gigantic head, which was like a bamboo frame, and then like some sort of canvas wrapped around the frame of the thing, and it didn't fit anywhere. But my dad had seen it and thought, oh yeah, like she'll like that. I'll take it home for her. And it had like weird curly hair and huge nostrils and like a painted face and stuff. And they literally brought it home, and my mum was like, absolutely not. Like, take that away right now. But because I absolutely loved it, I was like, yeah, this is amazing. It was that big I could fit inside it. So like, for a few days I just wore it. And then you realise you don't fit through doorways and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, it's going to have to go. So in the end, my mum agreed, because I was that devastated about it going, that we would sort of suspend it. So we had a big hallway where we lived. So the hallway had like a big staircase that run round, and in the centre was obviously ceiling to floor nothingness. So we actually ended up suspending it from the ceiling, so it just hung in the centre of the hallway for a long time, until my mum eventually got away and threw it out.
How long was it there for?
Probably about 2 or 3 years.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she just had to kind of give up a lot of what she wanted in her house to just me and my dad being quite eccentric. And making a lot of bizarre artwork that was like, no, this is far too nice to throw away. It's got to go on the wall forever.
Have you still got any of it?
I don't think so. Not anymore. We've got pictures, but I don't think we've got any of the stuff. I've got some of my mum's like paintings and artwork and stuff. But a lot of the things that we made together were just me. I don't think we've kept an awful lot of. But I think that was something I generally did with my mum. I did do stuff. I did make things with my dad, but it tended to not be like visual art.
Yeah.
We sometimes would record things, like record ourselves like talking or things like that on cassette tapes and stuff. Or my dad when he used to get his things out for fixing, he had like a tub of it was like a socket set and like a tub of general nuts and bolts and God knows what else. And I used to sometimes just sit and I guess sort that for like several hours at a time, because I really enjoyed it. So I just sit and mess with all the bits and like, what's this? And he'd tell me what it is, and then like he'd be doing whatever he was, and I just sit on the floor with a giant tub of metal shite and just pick through it.
Did you always have like an awareness of his complexities as a person?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that like he was obviously. I was very aware that I think that he wasn't the same as a lot of my friends' dads. And like their dads went to work for one, which was it's very different. I mean that's it is what it is. Like he stayed at home with me. A lot of friends had mums that stayed at home with them, which was like my dad. So like he was just, I don't know, odd compared to a lot of people that you met. And I think when I was like maybe like 11 and 12, I was quite embarrassed by that. But when I was younger, obviously I wasn't really aware, because it was just my dad. And it didn't matter. And I had a friend growing up who had both his parents, and his mum was quite odd. So it was sort of, that to me made sense. I was like, oh, he's got one too. It's fine. we used to go, like, we went on a couple of family holidays with them and stuff, and we just, two kind of odd families that went away together. So it was alright. Made sense.
Yeah. Did that stick around for a while, that sort of feeling, to do it at sort of 10, 11?
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point it was like, so I went through a phase of kind of being like, oh no, because everyone else was like, dads would seem to have their shit together a little bit more than mine. But then there was also like, I sort of, a lot of my friends who I was around with that time just thought my dad was like the coolest thing they'd ever seen, because he had long hair and beard, and he was like into rock music, and he wore Pink Floyd t-shirts. And so like when you get to that sort of age and you find your people that are kind of similar to your taste, they were all like, yeah, your dad's great. So then I was like, okay, that's it's actually not the worst thing in the world to have relatively cool parents. But what I thought was weird for a long time is actually cool to some people. So
yeah.
And obviously they weren't aware of what he was like as a person. It was just what they saw him as the few times they might have met him. Yeah.
Like you said, he spent a lot of time, being a grandparent and stuff. But he, his friend had sort of gifted and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what did he enjoy doing?
Still, I think music, really. So he had unfortunately when he moved, so he never got around to setting up his own music stuff back up. So we had, quite a significant. He was really into like music systems and having the best speakers and all those kind of things when I was growing up. And we'd have music on like most days.
It's quite traditionally blokey.
Yeah. Just generally putting loads of records on, and vinyl records and stuff like that. And then obviously he would record a lot. So we really, really liked John Peel. So we would record an awful lot of John Peel shows on tapes and just replay them to for himself. Just the music of it, not necessarily the talking, but just anything John Peel said was good. He liked, and he went through quite a lot of like music phases and stuff. Like he liked like rock music was continuous all the way through, but he also went through a phase where he really liked reggae and like world music and all that kind of thing. And I guess that was influenced by what he was listening to, a lot of the stuff on the radio, and a lot of folk and country music and all kinds of things. So he would collect things from charity shops and record shops. But yeah, when he did move, he just never got around to like setting his music system back up. So I purchased him a digital radio because it was obviously the time when like regular radios had kind of stopped working. So I like bought him a digital radio, and he'd just have the radio on like 24/7, listening to that. So he was still accessing music and stuff. And then obviously he's always really liked animals. So he was doing like the dog minding and all that kind of thing. So I guess a lot of his time was spent doing that. But he did stop. Like he stopped all of like the making stuff and keeping up to like tinkering with things and doing DIY. And he just stopped at everything with that. Just decided he didn't like it one day and didn't want to do it anymore. But yeah, I don't really know, apart from keeping up with like what he was listening to on the radio and his newspapers and stuff. They used to read through for all the music things. I don't really know what else he kind of enjoyed doing. Yeah, I think that ended up kind of being it really towards the end, because he didn't ride his bike anymore. He didn't really do anything.
Do you think he was still just sort of gravitating to what he enjoyed though?
Yeah.
I mean, because I know myself. I like have like lots of different things, and over the years just drop stuff off and being like, I'm kind of done with that,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, from what you're saying, it seems like he's just kind of moving towards the thing that he's.
Yeah, that stayed constant.
Well, yeah, just that he's getting something from.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that. I mean, I think he would have liked to have gone to see, a lot more live bands and stuff. I think the last like big concert he went to see the Rolling Stones, in the old Wembley. Like I don't actually remember when, like say 2012 or something like that. And that was like really like a real highlight for him. and I think he might have gone to see Bruce Springsteen as well, actually, around the same time ish. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and then I think the last one that we did together was we went to see. Well, my dad had, as I said, brought I liked a lot of country music as well, so I seen my mum likes country music as well, so I took them to see Dolly Parton, which I think was like the last thing we'd done all together, which was nice in I think maybe 2015 or 2016, something like that. So yeah, I think he would have liked to have continued doing that more, but I think it just money wise didn't manage, so just never really got to do it. And I think he reconnected just not long before he passed away. He'd reconnected with one of his friends that we've been friends with for a very long time, and started I think they started meeting up to just tinker on stuff together. I think he had a van or a car or something that they just kind of a couple of times had sort of decided to work on to get it back running, I think. So yeah, I suppose that's nice. Reconnecting with somebody you used to, spend an awful lot of time. So I think he was a bit younger than my dad, and I think when I was quite young, he was quite wild, and I think my dad saw him as his party friend, and they just randomly go away on weekends and turn up very very hungover a couple of days later. And I think they just drifted apart for a long time, and then I think just took a while to get back together, and then when he'd come back he'd kind of matured a lot and wasn't quite as much into the going out and getting very very high and very drunk. They just worked on cars together instead.
It must have been 20 years, right? Maybe since they've seen each other on the other time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, let me think. So he was around for a lot when I was maybe up until I was about 9, and then he went into prison for a long time. Not my dad's friend. And then when he came out, they just kind of didn't reconnect for a while. So yeah, maybe 15, 20 years, something like that, and then caught up with each other a bit.
What stands out about your dad? Now, I mean, obviously he's probably passed away until 2017, didn't he? Mm-hmm. So it's 5 years. Yeah. Just as a person, what's most prominent about him now?
I don't know. I guess I missed the most probably just being able to talk to him and the humour of everything as well, because he was quite funny. So I guess that, and just it was just, I mean, a lot of the things that were probably made him a little bit more odd, the silly voices he'd make and all that kind of thing, is probably what comes to memory when I think about him more. Just making up stupid words and things that he knew were wrong, but it sounded funny, so he did it anyway. And just speaking to kids or dogs in some weird high pitched voice, that kind of thing. But yeah, it was. I suppose that's what I guess I miss the most, which is just that kind of fun side. And then just I think what the other thing that stands out really now, I think, is looking back on how up and down he was probably the whole time. Even though obviously I've got a lot of nice memories and quite positive ones, just knowing how unwell he was as a person probably stands out now more looking back at it as an adult as well.
Yeah.
It's probably the two most things.
Yeah. So have you got? I did mention sort of whether you had a sort of memory or a specific thing you'd want to kind of talk about. I don't know if you've gone over it yet. But,
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think. I didn't have a specific thing. I think I was just going to see what happened.
Yeah.
I think the bike one was nice to talk about. I did talk about that one briefly before which might be nice to talk about. So I brought a photograph, which is my dad and my nan sitting in my nan's living room in quite a long time before I was born. And it was the day of my uncle's wedding. And my nan and my granddad had kind of got quite a cob on with my dad because he wouldn't cut his hair for the wedding because he didn't want him to be in the wedding photographs looking messy. And they kept on harping on about him wearing a suit and like dressing up.
Really bad too.
Yeah. So he didn't want him to like dress as he usually dressed for the wedding. I think they were quite worried about it. So my mum took it really seriously and borrowed some very formal clothes off friends of theirs. So my dad turned up for the wedding in like a top hat and tails. And my mum wore like a full Victorian gown. Black, both of them were wearing black as well.
Your dad done it with like proper lush locks as well.
Like almost waist length hair, I think, at that point. In a really ridiculous outfit. But they couldn't argue with them that they weren't smart. So I just took it up and deal with it. I had a cane as well, like a cane with some sort of filigree on the top of it, and he just like walked around holding his cane the whole day. It's in all of the family photographs, which was amazing. And I think they all held it against him for a very long time.
I think you got a lot of joy from one people
definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I think so. I think specifically about that type of stuff.
What do you think he would have most liked to kind of share, if he could share something, now?
I don't know. I guess he'd probably just. I mean, it's a shame I didn't bring any of his like poetry over, but like he obviously shared a fair bit of stuff in that about his views and things. And a lot of the stuff that he wrote about was just wanting people to know that it's okay to be who you are, and that people should be accepted, and having a variety of people is much more exciting than having just one. So I guess that maybe.
Quite a nice philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good place to finish.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to land up. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'm on this earth just to do good things. If I see anybody about to ill them, I send messages at will. Vibes, good or bad, can travel will. Good vibes help us, bad vibes kill. I'll get on some ley line to Brazil. The rhythm carries us all there. Spacecraft hover in the hot air. I'm trying to get over to my best side. I won't tell tales and I won't lie. You won't get me telling porcupines, 'cause I'm in orbit, yeah. I'm flying high, yeah, I'm in orbit. Above our Earth, it's so spectacular. You won't cry, it's just so beautiful. My, oh my.